just want to thank Joyce. She's the town clerk for the town of Stratham. So thank you for joining us today. And just so everyone knows as well, we will be recording the session, and we do have Bob Glowacki from Exeter TV joining us. He is actually recording the session and streaming it. So it's going to go out to the greater community as well for their information as well. So thank you to Bob and his team for keeping the information flowing beyond the chamber. We really appreciate it. You are here at Virtual Connect. My name is Kim Lindquist. I'm the Director of Events and Marketing for the Exeter Area Chamber of Commerce. I'd also like to thank Kennebunk Savings. They're not on the call today, but they are a good partner with us with this program. They signed on very early on when we decided to make this program a Living Beyond COVID program. So they jumped right on board to help sponsor the program. So we want to shout out to them as well for supporting us in this effort. Where we do have a lighter group on today, I do want to do some introductions so Joyce knows who's on the call today. And we'll start with Linda Horn.
Yes, good morning. My name is Linda Horn, and I live in Stratham, and I'm a sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I'm also the vice chair of the board of directors.
Thank you, Linda. Patricia.
Morning, Patricia Berger, Notary Public and board member of the Seacoast Artists Association.
Thank you. Jen Rands.
Hi, I'm Jen. I live in East Kingston, and I am an ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. We're a health and wellness company. I also am secretary for the Chamber Ambassadors, and I serve on the school board here in East Kingston as well.
Great, thank you. George.
My name is George. Didn't you just say that? I know,
why say anything else?
I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for Hay Creek Hotels. We manage lots of little inns throughout mostly New England, as you just heard, including the Exeter Inn. And I live in Hampton, and I am the chairman of the board for the chamber.
Thank you, George. Amy.
Good morning, everyone. Amy Hammershoy, financial advisor with Edward Jones Investments. My office is in Newmarket, New Hampshire, and I am an ambassador for the chamber, and I also live in East Kingston.
Great, thank you, Amy. Krista.
Hello, my name is Krista Cambara, broker owner of Voluminous Property Sales and Construction, and I am also the vice chair of the ambassador committee with the Exeter Chamber.
Great, thank you, Krista. And welcome, Andrea. We're just doing some quick introductions. So if you could just do name and where your business is and where you reside.
Oh, hi, I'm Andrea Hunt. I own Minuteman Press of Exeter, but we're located right in Stratham on the town line, next door to the convenient MD. And I've been a member for less than a year, almost a year now. And yeah, I live in Epping, so.
Great, thank you, Andrea. And Bobby, fortunately, is on a member call this morning, so she will be joining us late, but I do also want to have Jen Wheeler, president of the chamber, introduce herself to all the people who already know her on the call.
Hey everybody, good morning. I'm Jen Wheeler and serve as the president of the Exeter Area Chamber, and I live in Stratham. And Joyce, thank you so much for joining us today as our virtual Connect speaker, and thank you to all of you for participating in today's call. We thought this was an important and timely topic to have a conversation about, so I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you, Jen. And with that, I will turn it over to Joyce. She's going to be talking about obviously voter safety and other things to know about, and it really goes beyond the town of Stratham. These are things, kind of like finances. Amy knows people don't want to talk about it, but it's there, and it's usually the biggest elephant in the room that you don't talk about. So we thought this was, as Jen said, a timely topic and something we wanted to address, and hopefully it'll hit other people with it being recorded. So great. With that, I'll send it over to Joyce.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for having me. I'm sure you are all aware how busy it has been. We have been busy since probably June to get ready for the primary. And the primary was very busy. We had a bigger turnout than usual, but it gave us a good sample of what was to come. And we used what worked for the primary and what didn't work. And we are going to be using that towards the general election. So we have all been working very hard across the state, straight out, but in Stratham, it really is a team effort. So I have a full-time deputy and a part-time office assistant who has taken on more hours. We also have 3 supervisors of the checklist who have been in almost every day helping us out with absentee ballots. The number of absentee ballots, I'm sure you have heard, has broken all kinds of records throughout the state. So pretty much we have the supervisors of the checklist helping us out almost every day. We also have staff helping out every day. So it really is a team effort here in Stratham, and I am so appreciative of that. I am in a lot, some parts of the day on Saturday and Sunday, just to get, just to keep up. Right now, as of this morning, we have had 2,617 requests for absentee ballots. Of those 2,617, 2,270 have already been returned. So a normal presidential election, the last couple presidential elections, just to put that, we usually have between 500 and 600 absentee ballots. And that's a lot. So when you multiply that by 4 times as much, we are really, really straight out, and we need to make sure that every single vote is counted, that everyone who comes in to vote absentee or requests an absentee ballot, that ballot is mailed in a timely manner, and that ballot comes back and is put into our state system, and then that it is given to the moderators on election day. They open up the outer envelope and make sure there's a signature on the David envelope, and that signature would match the application for the absentee ballot that's also stapled to the envelope. So the most important part is making sure there are 2 signatures. Because of the number of ballots, the state has approved, just like the primary, a day of pre-processing. And what that means is that the moderator, his assistant, and I scheduled another 12 assistants for them. So the moderator, the deputy, and another 12 assistants are going to come in this Friday from 1 until we're finished. Wow. And open up over 2,200 absentee ballots. They're going to only be able to open up the outer envelope. What they're going to do is just slide the affidavit envelope up that's inside and make sure there's a signature. They're going to look at the application stapled to this envelope and make sure there's a signature. If there isn't, they're going to put that aside, and they're going to have an assistant make phone calls at the end of the pre-processing and give them the opportunity to come in and correct that. Because we really want everyone who wants to vote to be given that chance. So if they happen to forget to sign one of the 2 signatures, we'll make a call and say, this is what happened. Please come in. We're going to be open Monday. You can even come in on Tuesday on election day to correct it. And we did this for the primary, and almost everyone came in that we called. They really want to vote, especially with this election and with everything that's going on with the election. I just have never seen the record numbers come out. I mean, we already have almost 2,300 absentee ballots received, and that's out of 6,800 voters in Stratham. I'm expecting election day to be busy. I kind of thought with the primary, we again had a record number of absentee ballots. It was 1,100 that were returned. And I thought, well, usually the state primary, it's usually like a 20% turnout. So I'm thinking, well, it's not going to be that busy on election day. And it was very steady. We had a 35% turnout, which is big. With the presidential elections, we normally have an 85 to 95% turnout. So I'm expecting, even with 2,300 absentee ballots returned, and we may have another 100 or so before Tuesday, I'm expecting that many to come out and vote. And our goals and emphasis is making sure that just like we're trying to make it as smooth a process for the absentee voters, we want to make it as smooth and convenient and easy for the election day voters. So with that being said, the team, and that's the select board, the moderators, my staff, the town administrator, have been meeting regularly for the last 2 months, just making sure that everything is looked at, everything is answered, questions that come up. I've scheduled over 70 assistants to help me on election day. And that's the staff in this building, in the town offices, and that's people that I've used in past elections, and actually a lot of new people that have emailed or called me and offered to help. So on election day, we will have 70 people there. The polls are open 8 to 8. I'll be there at 7. My workers for the morning shift, which is normally 8 to 2, will be there about 7:30. I will get them situated, explain what they're doing. We have 6 ballot clerk tables. We'll divide up the alphabet that way. We have someone at each of the entrance doors, one at the door for the supervisors of the checklist for those residents that need to register to vote on election day. They'll go to one particular door where the supervisors of the checklist are. There'll be someone at that door just saying, if you are not registered to vote, this is the door you come in. Another 12 feet, 15 feet further down is where the registered voters will wait in line to come into the election room and vote. There'll be someone at that entrance door. We will keep them in a single line. We are going to try and keep them 6 feet apart. We will be telling them that masks are required. On the other side, and there will be a barricade, will be the pollsters, electioneering, with the electioneering holding their signs. So there will be barriers, but they will be able to see the voters coming in. I have someone inside the election room. They will be assigning, everyone that comes in, what's your last name? Okay, you're going to table 1, or you're going, because the 6 tables will be divided up by the alphabet. So we're trying to make it, we're trying to make it as efficient and easy as possible for the voters, both absentee and same day voters. It's going to be a very steady, busy day. Even with the number of absentee ballots we received, we still have people coming in, registering to vote, and we are asking them, did you want to vote absentee, or are you going to go to the polls? That's absolutely their choice. And about half of them are saying, no, I want to go to the polls. I want to vote at the polls for this election. So I expect it to be busy. I think we have a great crew. I have a lot of experienced election workers that I will put with the newer ones and pair them off. So there's 2 at each ballot table. One will be experienced, checking off names. The other one will be handing out the ballot. I'm kind of a floater and going to every different location to make sure that everybody's okay. My deputy will be there. She has an assignment, but she'll also be a floater part of the day. The moderators will be there, the select board, the town administrator. We have police and the highway agents directing traffic in the parking lot. This is something I really want to get out. This is the first year that an election is held at the Stratham Memorial School. It's usually at the Municipal Center. So that is going to be at the school at 39 Gifford Farm Road. We're going to have someone here at the Municipal Center all day from 8 to 8 in case anyone comes here and direct them to the school. We'll also have an absentee ballot drop-off box here as well as at the school, because absentee voters can drop off their ballots on the day of the election by 5 p.m. So we want to have someone here that if anyone comes after 5, we can advise them, your vote is not going to count per the RSA, and I can give you that RSA, but per the state, they have to be in by 5. But if you would like, you have the option to go to the school and vote in person, be an election day voter instead of an absentee voter, so your vote can count. So we're going to advise them of that. And the same at the school. We'll have an absentee ballot box there it'll be out from 8 to 8, but anyone and it will be manned continuously throughout the whole day. It will not be left alone. So anyone who comes by to put a ballot in after 5, they're going to advise them the same thing. I want you to know your ballot's not going to count. This is a state law. But if you're here, you can, they're not absent and they're here. You can absolutely go in if you would like and be an election day voter, so your vote will count. So we're trying to take in every single scenario that we can think of. I've done this for 16 years, so I have experience. I know what's come up in the past. I try to deal with it, but our emphasis really is just giving good service to the people that want to come out and vote. That's their constitutional right. We don't want them waiting in long lines. We want them to come in, kind of get in and get out. But while you're here, vote and then leave. Certainly we don't want, no one's going to lag or socialize anyways with the COVID-19. But it's kind of an unprecedented kind of election and environment, and we just want to keep it safe and convenient for the voters. Do you have any questions as I'm talking?
Yeah, sure. I have a few to keep prompting the conversation. So thank you very much for giving us a great overview and rundown of kind of how Stratham's doing things. And I know the smaller communities here in Rockingham County are doing similar things. So it's definitely, like you said, it's unprecedented. So whatever these towns can do to adapt, volunteering, I know is a big one too. That's really helping to make all of this happen as well. So thank you for your efforts. And
thank you.
It's not easy. It's not easy in a normal year, let alone.
Right. And then COVID-19, and
exactly.
It is very challenging.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the questions to keep the conversation going, what we obviously learned from the state primary, wearing a shirt that, promotes a certain candidate is not allowed. What other, restrictions are people allowed to do and not do at the election site that maybe kind of go under the radar that you don't realize? I think there's some not really unwritten rules, but just rules we're not aware of.
I mean, a hat that promotes one candidate or the other, or a pin, something that you may not notice, but my election workers will, because that's what we're on the lookout for. We want to be fair to everybody. So at the primary, we had someone who had a hat on endorsing a particular candidate, and I and the moderator explained to him that was not allowed. And if it was the different opposing candidate, we would have said the same thing to whoever was wearing that. Usually we can really kind of talk to them and reason with them. This particular voter left without voting. And, that's something that we really feel badly about, but we really have to treat everyone the same. That's the most important thing. We can't just say, oh, okay, just slide in. That's not fair to the next one. So unfortunately, we do have to stand kind of our ground and enforce the policies and the laws, no matter how hard it is. So that's one thing. We are requiring, with the COVID-19, we're going to try and keep everyone 6 feet apart. They should have masks on. The state does instruct that everyone should be given the right to vote, even those that cannot or will not wear a mask. And so we have accommodated those voters with a separate voting area. So they aren't even actually in the auditorium or, around anyone. We've really set up a nice area, just like we did for the primary. So at the primary, I had about 7. And then I'm thinking with the general election, there will be more than that, but we have set up accommodations for that. But the information that is going out is masks are required. And then we will take it, one at a time for those that can't or will not wear a mask, because they do have the constitutional right to vote. And the state has made that very clear that we do have to set up accommodations for them.
Nice that you're in a bigger spot, so you can have the space for it.
But we had the primary here, and we set it up. You do what you have to do with what you have. So that was set up for that as well. But yes, I really like the larger space. That's going to be, I think, a lot easier space-wise. The number of booths, we'll be able to put up all the booths and just be prepared.
Absolutely.
Proud.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some questions people from other towns that they should be asking their town clerks?
So a lot of questions that we get would be, what kind of precautions are you going to have in place for the COVID-19? Because people do want to come out and vote. But they're cautious. They want to make sure that it is safe. So we received a lot of personal protective equipment from the state for the primary that is for both elections. So I kind of reassure them and my election workers, because the ballot clerks want to be safe. The election workers want to be safe. So I explained to the election workers and the voters that we are taking every precaution that we can. We have sneeze guards at the ballot tables. So they're not face to face with the voter. There's a little space on the bottom towards the table there. They just slide their license through. The ballot clerk doesn't even have to touch it. All she's doing is looking at the picture, and then the voter takes it back. So there's a nice, large plexiglass sneeze shield on every single ballot clerk table. There will be one for the supervisors of the checklist, because they're going to have a lot of people registering to vote that day. So they'll have 4 tables and they'll have 4 sneeze guards. And the voter will, the resident will come in and register to vote, but there'll be a barrier between them. Obviously, we're going to have hand sanitizer. We will have signs and ask voters to use that as they're leaving, because at the previous election, it was noted, not for us, but other towns, a lot of the sanitizer was gumming up the AccuVote machines that the state of New Hampshire uses to tabulate the votes. So we will have that at the exit, and there will, a lot of people will have it in their pockets anyways, but we are going to ask them to refrain until they are exiting. We have boxes of pens, so everyone is given their own pen, and they can dispose of it on their way out in a box, or they can keep it. Here's your pen. Here's a little souvenir. We won't be handing out I voted stickers, but we'll have a pile of them if someone wants to have one. They used to just, every single voter that came in was handed one. But again, with the COVID-19, it's something small, but there are people that want that I voted sticker. And even when they come in to vote absentee, they're like, do you have any I voted stickers? And we're like, we sure do. So if they ask, they get one. But just, and then the floors will be marked once they come in. So there'll be 6 tables spread out in the auditorium at the school. And we are going to allow 1 voter in front of the ballot clerk at each table, and then 2 voters behind that one, but 6 feet apart, because the gym is big enough that we can do that. So we can get 18 people in at a time between the 6 tables, and 3 at each table. We have 8-foot tables for the ballot clerks. So 1 will be at the beginning of the table and 1 will be at the end. And all of the election workers will be wearing masks the whole day. So those are a lot of questions. People want to go and vote, the ones that aren't coming in to vote absentee, but they want to be reassured that we're doing everything we can. We have an amazing, I have to just shout out to Shante Wolf, who has done so much since March. He's our code enforcement officer, and he is just right up on every single thing that the state and the CDC and all the organizations are recommending that we do. Stratham in March, once this came about, I and my staff made this decision that we wanted to continue to service our residents. So we decided not to close. What we did for about 6 weeks, from March till probably mid-April, is parking lot transactions. So we explained what they could do online and the things that they couldn't do online. We would go out to the parking lot and take care. We'd, grab their paperwork, their payment, their license, come in and do the transaction, and then run back out and give them the paperwork. And then probably the beginning of May or the end of April, we had people coming in three at a time, because we have three workers in my office and 3 workstations. So we would unlock the door, because the door would be locked, and let 3 people in at a time. They would exit a different way, and then 3 more. And then we did unlock the door about 2 weeks ago. So now everyone can come in, but the floors are spaced, the lines are spaced 6 feet apart. And so this is all with the help of Shanti, who has guided me since March and has been such a help with the elections. He is right on top of everything. So I feel really, really comfortable that my voters and my election workers will be safe.
That's great. Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
One final question that I had, we've been hearing a lot, obviously, in the news that there's concerns about safety beyond COVID. Are there any safety measures in place in the event a voter feels unsafe when they're casting their ballot?
Yeah, we're going to have a police presence, and I think most towns are, because of the environment that we're in right now. We want, I mean, they should feel safe. That's just not a question. And, if there is, with the posters, they are holding signs and the 2 opposing parties and, maybe the line getting into the entrance, there might be some comments among the voters. We just want to make sure that everyone is safe. So it's going to be an unobtrusive police presence. We're going to have them in the parking lot. We're going to have them in the building, but then there's the Stratham Police Department. They're the friendliest, nicest guys. I mean, everyone in Stratham loves our police department. So it's not an intimidation by any means. It's just having a presence with crowd control and anything that might happen.
Great, that's good. Thank you, Joyce, very much.
I did just want to mention one thing, if I could, just as far as the Disability Act, we will have, the state does send out a laptop for voters that need assistance. And it's called the One for All Accessible Voting System. So there is a laptop and a printer and a desk and a lamp in this large tent right in the auditorium where the polling place is, right, with all the other voters, but set aside a little bit because it is a large space. Anyone that needs assistance with this, there'll be several election workers available to help them. It is a great system. It's either, you can either use the keyboard or it's a touch screen, and it guides you every step of the way. So the state has come, this has been available for the last several years, but anyone who feels that, oh, I really can't come in and vote, I can't do it, we're there to help. And the state also provides this wonderful new voting, not new, but an accessible voting system called One for All. And they have also come up with, and I think it's this year, with a primary accessible absentee voting. And they would contact the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State would send them a link so that they are able to do absentee voting at home, printing the ballot from their laptop or their computer, and the state will guide them every step of the way with the link and the PIN number and the password. So I just wanted to mention that because it's available, and I'm hoping that the residents, that need this will take advantage of it, and they don't have to feel that they have to go into this tent by themselves. Gee, could I have some help with this? There will be someone there to help them if that is what they wish.
No, I think that's great. Like you were saying, every vote, truly counts. Everybody should have the ability to vote regardless of, whatever limitations there may be. There should be no limitations. So that's really great information to know. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to open it up to the group. Are there any questions or anything that Joyce didn't touch on? Yes, Jen, please.
Hey, I think it's a quick question, but first of all, thank you for all you're doing to ensure the safety and that all the votes are counted fairly. We really appreciate your service. Yeah, and then my question is related to the absentee ballots, and then if someone has requested, it's kind of specific, if someone has requested an absentee ballot, but then they decide they want to go in and vote in person, do they need to bring all their paperwork with them, or can they just go vote?
So if they have not returned their ballot, they can just come in and vote. The absentee ballot isn't counted because we never received it. If they have returned their ballot, but the checklist is not marked yet, so during the election day, once the moderators approve the 2,200 absentee ballots, they're going to go to the ballot clerks and give them their name, and they're going to write, and the ballot clerk will write AV next to their name, absentee voter. And that indicates that that ballot is now in the AccuVote tabulator machine. So that vote has now been counted. So that's the only time they could not. So yes, they can go in and vote if their ballot has not been returned, and they can go in and vote if their name is not checked off as AV. Because once it's checked off AV, if they did mail their ballot back and it's checked off AV, that means that ballot was counted. So they can't vote twice.
Okay. So how does it work when they put it in the ballot? Is that why the box, the drop-off box closes at 5 on the?
So, no. So what happens is the 2,200 absentee ballots. So those are going to be opened and approved by the moderators. Make sure the signature's there. Then they will go over to the ballot clerks and give them the names from the absentee ballot list. They'll make a check mark saying, okay, this one's okay. They'll go over to the ballot clerks, give them those names. They'll mark AV. Then they take those 2,200 ballots and put them through that same machine that the day ballots are going through. So you can't pull out who knows whose ballot is whose. Once it's in that machine, that vote is counted.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Any other questions out there that people have? Yes, George.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think that it's sad that this kind of turnout is considered, enormous when it should be kind of more normal, if you know what I mean. Have there been any discussions on how we might be able to improve voter turnout by making it easier in any one of a number of ways?
I think it's made as easy as possible. I mean, we do this time around, they do have the option of the absentee voting just because of the COVID-19. You don't have to be absent. You can vote absentee because of the fear of COVID-19. So that's made it easier for them. Whether the state decides to open that absentee option up in the future, that might make it easier for voters who want to vote absentee. I think key is making it easy for the voters to come in and vote as well at the election by not having long lines. We're lucky, I think, that we have a large enough space this time around that I'm hoping that won't happen. Just trying to make the process as easy as possible for the voters. But, the bottom line is this is different. And people are more invested right now. And maybe in 4 years or 8 years, that's not going to be the case. And they may just go back to being, what it's always been. It's hard to predict the future, but my goal is to make it as easy as possible for everyone to vote either absentee or in person.
Thank you.
I did want to just mention also with the absentee ballots, they do the 5 o'clock cutoff date because we will also have ballots come overnight, FedEx, UPS, and mail. So that's why I, again, am having someone at the municipal center the full 8 hours. But we can accept mail and by any means that it comes in, or by person at 5 p.m. And then 5 p.m. is the cutoff per the state.
Thank you for that. And thank you, George, for your question. Does anyone else have a question for Joyce? One that I had, just to kind of piggyback off of George's question, where you've had so much experience in this, what is one thing where we've had to change everything, where there's a lot more mail-in, absentee, safety precautions, all of that? What is maybe a couple things you would like to pull from this and have implemented in the future for voters?
So as far as the, I guess really and truly, it's just having enough help. I'm not sure any shortcuts can be made because we have so many checks and balances, so that people don't vote twice. One thing that was very confusing for the residents, and we just had so many phone calls, was, we don't send out the absentee ballot applications unless it's requested, but political organizations have been sending them out. So every single, and it's across the country. So it's definitely through the whole state of New Hampshire. And as soon as we were aware of this, the state became aware of it. We let the state Secretary of State know. They immediately put something on their website. This is not coming from the town clerk or from the Secretary of State. It's different political parties. A major mail-in was just postmarked New Jersey. That's not really legal. They have to be able to see where it's coming from. So every single resident, I think, or most in Stratham, got the absentee ballot application with a return address stamped and a handwritten, or it looked handwritten, with my name and address on it, with a Post-it note saying, "Please, I need your help." So I am getting so many calls from the residents legitimately concerned, saying, "Gee, I already did an application. Did you lose it? Or did you lose my ballot? Do I need to do it again?" Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we got a lot of calls, and then we got a lot more applications from the same people. So, it was really hard. And that wasn't the only organization. There was other mailings, almost the same, but, different. So it was a different organization. So I reached out to my town administrator and the select board. We put it on the select board newsletter. The Secretary of State put something out. We put it on our website. We have a forum in Stratham called Stratham Talk. So I reached out to a couple people and had them post that this is not coming from us. But people were legitimately upset, saying, "Did you lose my application? Did you lose my ballot? I've already done this." Or, "I don't want an application. Why are you sending this to me? I want to come in and vote. Are you telling me I can't?" I'm not deep. Yep.
No, you're good.
Okay. So that made it hard. And we have so many phone calls all day long, in addition to trying to do our work. And it's not just election work. We're still open as town clerk, tax collector. So, motor vehicles and vital records and, tax collect and the elections and nonstop phone calls with these legitimate concerns and questions like, "What do you need?" It's a Post-it note saying, "I need your help." It really made me, upset. So if I could eliminate that would eliminate a lot of the phone calls, if you're asking what I would do differently. But, like I said, it's just a unprecedented election environment where people are going to do whatever they have to do to get their agendas across.
Yeah, you're right. We're seeing that a lot, for sure.
The main thing is, is having enough help. And that really is everything. I mean, I would say that to every town clerk, get your town staff in different offices to help out if they can. Get your supervisors of the checklist to help out, because you still have to do all the steps. You really can't cut out a step, because that cuts out a check and balance. So you don't want to cut that out, but you just want the help. And we're lucky we have that help.
And I think that's such good advice, because like you said, the election is so important. So what can we do?
Right.
More people is really going to make it more possible and more seamless. So you're so right.
I've had some residents come in helping stuff envelopes so that we can just mail them out, as soon as we get we get so much mail of absentee ballot requests. So we've had a couple residents, Jeff Hebert, Patricia Hughes, Cheryl Ewart. They come in and I mean, I call them and they're there the next day or they're there that afternoon. What can I do to help? I mean, along with all this, there's so much filing. Those absentee ballots have to be filed in alphabetical order. So when the moderators come in Friday to pre-process, they'll take the absentee ballot list, check off the name on the envelope. And I mean, it's amazing how much filing and packaging the envelopes. And I've had them come in probably a half a dozen times just to help me out with that while we're trying to do,
Right.
tasks. So again, this town is amazing. It's truly a team effort inside and outside the town.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad you're getting the help that you need to make it possible.
Yeah. Knocking on doors, please.
Do we have any final questions from anybody?
I'll ask a quick question.
Sure.
Sorry. How
No,
do you
you're good.
anticipate it to go on election night with counting? Do you anticipate it being a late night, or what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. Election day is a long day. There's actually a question on the ballot about changing the hours from 8 to 8 to 7 to 7. Just because there's always a line that starts in the morning from 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock, and we can't open the doors because the polling hours are 8 to 8. So I put that question on the ballot with approval from the town meeting in 2019. So that way we're done an hour earlier, where there's never usually a line the last hour. Sometimes, with this number of ballots and absentee ballots and election day ballots, we could be there till 10 or 11 or 12 at night. So you're talking 7 in the morning till maybe 11 at night. It's a 16-hour day. At the end of the night is when we have to put our, brain on and start calculating the numbers. We have lots of help. We have lots of counters. My deputy and I will be, making sure that what we have left in inventory equals the number of ballots that went out and what we started with. But it is a long day, and I'm really hoping that, with the number of absentee ballots we have, it won't be too crazy on election day. I think it will be steady all day. So, say I have 2,500 absentee ballots returned, I'm probably expecting that many to come in and vote. That's kind of what happened with the primary. The number that came in kind of equaled the number of absentee ballots we received. So the polls close at 8, and, if we get out between 10 and 11, I think I'd be happy. And then we'll be back at work the next morning.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Joyce. I was gonna call on you.
Yes. Thank you for making that point. There is lots of information out there on our website as well.
Great. Yes, thank you. And I'm glad Exeter TV showed the face behind the curtain. We're very appreciative for them showing this today, and that is great information. Everything does vary from town to town, so make sure you're checking in with your own. But we thought this would be a great way to kind of tee that up to make people a little more knowledgeable in their towns, because knowledge is power, and we want to make sure everybody is equipped with the knowledge that they need to vote safely and be able to vote how they want to vote this year. Do you have any final thoughts for us, Joyce, before we wrap up today? Any pearls of wisdom you want us to walk away with?
I guess I would just say, if you want to get out there to vote on election day, I think every town really, I think town clerks as a whole are just very conscientious, and they work hard, and they're going to make sure that, that you have a good experience, or hopefully we'll have a good experience voting. I'm hoping there won't be long lines, and there's a lot of new voters for the very first time, and they're like, no, I want to vote. I want to be there on election day. Well, I hope you do that. I hope that this doesn't stop you, that there will be precautions in place, and that, we will take care of you. If you want to come to vote, your vote will be counted. You will be able to vote.
Great. Thank you, Joyce. That's really a great way to end this. So thank you for that. Jen, any final words from you before we wrap up today?
No, I honestly think this was a wonderful conversation. I learned a lot and took lots of notes. So thank you so much for the information that you shared, Joyce. Thank you to everyone for the questions that you raised. I really appreciate the time and the thoughtfulness that is going into the work that you do, Joyce, you and your team over at the town. And as you said, town clerks in towns all across the seacoast and across the state, across the country, are juggling the same things. So we're grateful for your service and for your patience and thoughtfulness to the process, and keeping it safe and making sure that every vote counts, because it's important.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We want to thank Kennebunk Savings again for their sponsorship of this program. And of course, again, to Joyce for taking the time out of her insanely busy schedule to spend 45 minutes with us to talk about voting safety. So thank you for that. I hope everyone has a wonderful day.